It is Wednesday, the 23rd of October. Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into the forecast because we've got the long weekend on the way and, as you know, this large low. So let's try and break down what is happening at the moment. To begin with, as we go in towards Wednesday evening, the large area of high pressure that's brought the settled start to this week starts to move away from us. It moves to our north. It's a large system though, as you can see. It stretches all the way up to Samoa, over towards Fiji, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, and then it comes down. That airflow, that northern subtropical airflow, comes down and over the South Island. So that's the reason why eastern areas today are going to get up into the mid, possibly upper 20s. And then tomorrow, Thursday, it'll be the eastern side of the North Island and perhaps still some eastern parts of the South Island getting that hotter airflow. Still a bit of cloud around the country though, so not everyone will have the heat, but most places should be warm for this time of the year. Here's how the rain looks for the next 48 hours. Now this is from 9 o'clock this morning, Wednesday, through till 9 o'clock in the morning, Friday. Not much for the North Island, although some heavy falls around the Tararua Range and up around Mount Taranaki. But the heavy rain is over on the west coast. There are orange rain warnings at the time that we recorded this, so keep up to date with the Met Service. You'll find their warnings all over our websites and our app. But the heavy rain over here on the western side. So you could be seeing rainfall totals of 250 to 375 millimetres in just 48 hours. Now this is a rainforest down here, this is built for it, but just keep in mind some of the roads may not be. And so there could be some slips, could be some washouts, or even just a bit of flooding around. Hopefully not too bad though. The further north you go into the more populated areas, those rainfall totals do drop down. Although if you note, in the hills and mountains and ranges, all the way up to the very northwestern corner of the South Island, you've got that heavy rain. And one other part, Southland, you may also get some heavy rain in there as well. Some areas could be seeing 50 to 75 millimetres falling around the eastern or southern parts, and even more so further to the west. Keep an eye on your local rain forecast that we've got. It should help you work out whether or not you're in that heavy area or just getting some spillover. Not much for the east and almost nothing for the eastern side of the North Island or the top of the North Island. Here is how we look at lunchtime tomorrow, Thursday. The high, big area of high pressure stretching all the way up into the tropical islands and dragging down that warm airflow. So that's the reason why, in particular, the North Island and the top of the South Island have that across Thursday. We've got a cold front coming through over towards Tasmania and Victoria. Now that colder air sits out at sea for now, but the blue line shows it quite close to the South Island. So that warmer weather is going to gradually sort of drop off, and we see that heavy rain piling up on the west coast, one of the reasons why you're seeing that rain warning or rain warnings. And also strong gusty winds may not be enough for severe gale warnings, but it's marginal for it. In other words, it's a blustery day on Thursday. Look at the temperatures, as we mentioned, 26 degrees, maybe going up towards 30 degrees in some spots in that darker orange shading, which you can also see around parts of Marlborough, some parts of Canterbury as well, sharing that darker orange shading. I say this every day because I get a complaint every day. This is not a main centre temperature map. For that, we've got hourly forecasts for 10 days out for every single part of this country on our app and our websites, Rural Weather, Weather Watch. This is just to give you a glance to see, is there a big cold change or hot change moving through? And what you're noticing is temperatures are still mild in the lower South Island. You can see the gold shading there. That puts you into the late teens. And yes, the complaint yesterday was from Invercargill. And further to the north, pretty mild as well, but keep in mind there'll be a fair bit of cloud around. So your daytime maximum may not be overly hot, but you might notice the overnight temperatures over the nights ahead getting warmer and warmer, some places into the mid to upper teens while you're trying to sleep. Here's how we are on Friday. So now all attention shifts out to the Tasman Sea because these areas of low pressure are going to get together and make the most of the long weekend. So they're going to merge and basically form this large area of low pressure, and that will happen across Friday afternoon, Friday night, and going into Saturday. The big high out to the east, it is getting bigger. The air pressure is lifting up, still drags down that mild airflow, cloudy weather as well. And with these lows developing and forming, the rain clouds you see here through central parts of the country won't likely clear away. It might ease here and there, but it's generally going to hang around. And as we go on towards the weekend, that will get heavier. Also, the cold change that was affecting Tassie and Victoria. That is it here. The southerly arrives on Friday if you live in Southland, Fiordland, Southwestland, and later on Otago. But it gets a little messy going into the weekend. And when I say a little messy, probably a lot messy. We've got this large area of low pressure. It is now looking a lot more, how can I put it, trustworthy from my point of view of giving you a forecast. This looks a lot more like the weather maps that we were seeing over the weekend, the last weekend, trying to work out what was going to happen this coming long weekend. So now we're starting to get a bit more confidence in these maps. So what we're seeing on Saturday is a band of rain crossing over the North Island. That is the front there attached to the low pressure zone. It's possible there might be some heavy falls, maybe even some thunderstorms in the mix. Strong winds ahead of it, windy nor'westers, so the eastern side of the North Island, it'll be cloudy, but mostly dry, still pretty warm too. In the South Island, that colder change is still around, but now you've got the low feeding in that warmer airflow and some rain. Here is the good news. If you're a farmer or someone who lives on the rainwater in Canterbury, you want rain, here are some chances of some heavier falls coming through. Heavy rain at the top of the island. The South Island has the highest risk for severe weather warnings as we go in towards the weekend. So just be aware of that. Heavy rain, potentially strong winds. And for now, snow's not really in the forecast for the mountains and ranges, but keep an eye on that blue line. That's sort of a wintry sign of colder air. And on Sunday, it gets a little bit more into the mix there as that main cold southerly from Tasmania comes over towards us. It's messy and complicated because high pressure is out to the west, to the south, which it normally isn't, and also out to the east, kind of part of this system stretching down and connecting up. Someone said it looks like a smiley face. I can't remember if that was for this map or for Monday, but either way, that big area of high pressure, and the low is in the middle. So the low kind of falls apart on Sunday. It looks kind of large. Still heavy rain on the west coast. We've got a low pressure zone on the west side and the east side. That complicates it. There may be a bit of snow along the mountains and ranges. And I only really mention that because a lot of people this weekend like to go camping and tramping. And so could be winter conditions higher up, obviously not low down, but higher up. And in the North Island, still mild with northwesterlies. Temperatures come down a little bit though, because you're no longer in that tropical airflow. Now you've got your normal nor'wester, plenty of showers around, especially on the western side. And by Monday, again, plenty of showers on the western side. Western parts of the country probably seeing the most amount of rain this weekend, especially the west coast in the South Island. And on Monday, still got a slight southerly breeze here, coming in now to the lower part of the North Island. So temperatures continue to drop back as we go through. But look, these North Island westerlies, which are kind of blowing off and on for the weekend and starting from now, if you track the origins of them, part of it comes out of this colder change. But the further north you go, the more likely it is that your airflow is still coming out of Queensland and subtropical areas. So we don't expect a big drop in temperatures for you on Monday at the top of New Zealand. But it is still a bit unsettled for the long weekend. Not everyone has severe weather. There are large dry areas in the mix too, but the South Island and the very lower North Island perhaps more at risk of some of that severe weather. And look at this forecast for Tuesday. Settled again as everyone goes back to work. How's that for typical? So we've got that low moving away, kind of split in half now. We've got one out in the Tasman, the other one dropping away from us. Still mild weather, subtropical for some parts of the top of New Zealand by Tuesday next week. And elsewhere, a nor'wester starting to pick up again, which should warm you up after the cooler change that comes through over the long weekend. So we'll have another update tomorrow and of course on Friday as we go in towards the long weekend. So we'll see you then.